Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to continue the topic of how sustainability and real sustainability can be achieved in many of our workplaces, but the reason why it doesn't get achieved isn't simply because of the problem of what a video I'm going to put here is going to reference, which is the problem related to. In that video, they're talking about fashion related climate change problems that is happening globally, and not just climate change problems, but um, poor worker conditions, exploitation of the poor, as well as exploitation of the planet is happening there. But it's not simply related to fast fashion. This happens even with expensive high end fashion. This happens even with cheap cars. It happens even with expensive cars. It happens with cheap phones, expensive phones, anything that we use in our life that is bought mindlessly, that is manufactured mindlessly, that is at different levels of the work related to producing that product and then destroying that product. Any kind of work that is done mindlessly is the actual reason why we have such high levels of pollution going on in the world, such high levels of garbage accumulating either in our homes or outside our homes, as well as the reason why we are not able to solve meaningfully the problems which are actually at the practical level solvable, but only if people let go of certain perceptions related to what is considered successful, what is considered meaningful, what is considered as important in life, which is what most people perceive that success is when you make a lot of money. Most people think that when you're wearing clothes or that are beautiful or using a phone that is fancy, that they need that phone. They're marketed that belief system that every year, every month, if you have the money, you have to use it effectively, or when you have the money, you must buy something, or when you have the money, you must show off. When you have the money, the only way to show that you have money is to display it as much as possible, or create envy, like in Oneida ad that it says neighbors envy owners pride. It was a TV that had that tag, but essentially every Indian or every human on earth who is doing socioeconomically really well, most start buying into this facade or into this myth that you have to buy something to create jealousy in others, otherwise it's not worthwhile what you have bought. When the reality is, in order to lead a balanced life, in order to lead a life that is ethical, in order to lead a life that is aligned with God's way of leading life on earth, you don't have to buy 10 or 20 or 100 clothes in a year. You do not have to buy uh, every year a new gadget. You don't have to buy every year or every few years a new car. You do not have to keep buying into the myth that the more you buy, the happier you are, or the more things you possess, the happier you are. And that's why only in recent years there are so many people who have started making videos on these problems associated with more buying, like the climate change problems, the health problems. Because remember, what this video it addresses the problem of worker exploitation, it addresses the problem of minimum wage. But also remember the same when it is also talking about how policies can help in shifting the narrative. But it is not simply about policy change. Even if policy changes are made, what happened when policy changes were made in US, when the worker fire happened in US and policy changes were made, slowly over time companies started shifting to other countries. Why are they shifting to other countries? Why are they going to Bangladesh or India or Africa or South America? All these different places, the manufacturing is shifting, and at that time the local governments are are thinking, wow, this is an amazing opportunity to give jobs to millions of people or thousands of people in our city or town or village, because those people don't have a job. So they think that is meaningful in employment that will be generated. And initially maybe it is a little bit of meaningful employment that does indeed get generated when at first the factory is established there. Because when you are paying some factory worker, you are supposed to pay you it's a factory worker in some place in US, and in the town of US or village of US, in order to give a meaningful wage to the worker, you might have to pay them $15 an hour. For that factory worker, $15 an hour, the company doesn't want to pay that, because then they will have to create less products, they will have to focus more on worker conditions, and their profit on their books will go down, and it will not seem a profitable venture. And which is the first thing everyone who is doing business has to shed. A business is supposed to, technically, in general, and you have to understand this about life on earth. Life on earth is about good and bad being balanced with each other, meaning life on earth is about even profitability and loss balancing with each other. Now, how profitability and loss will balance depends on you. If you are able to balance and understand that, have you learned physics? In physics, we have heard that light is like a wave particle, sound is also like a wave particle. Why is light and sound like a wave particle? Because light and sound also being part of normal nature and natural things on earth or in the cosmos has to follow this cycle of up and down. So this cycle of up and down is meant to be a part of human existence, irrespective of where you're living. So because of which this up and down cycle always has to balance. Now whether the up and down cycle will be massive ups and downs, or whether it will be a steady up and down, depends on you. When it is a steady up and down, you can have a healthier life, you can have a balanced life, you can have a longer meaningful life. But when it is a very rapid and bipolar, like up and down, that is when you are having, or like, massive ups and then massive down will invariably happen. It's just that you are not paying attention to the massive downs that you are supporting when you don't support the worker conditions. Because it's not actually, it wouldn't have been that bad for those companies who decided that if earlier I was paying the worker $7 an hour, and now the living wage laws are asking me to pay the worker $15 an hour, what they needed was their profitability had to go down. So if they were making profits of millions of dollars instead of $100 million profit, if they are paying meaningful wages, that 100 million would have maybe gone down to now 60 million or something in profit. And that loss they could have taken. It's not that it's not a absorbable loss by that company. But the myth and the false premise that you have to keep making money all the time, all the time, all the time in order to seem successful, and the myth that if you lose money you are not successful, is the reason why most people, most companies do not want to follow these ethical practices, these laws that are wanting to shift the narrative towards a better way of doing business, but people avoid doing it. And when you avoid doing it, that is when the uncleaner earth, safer conditions of working, unsafer lifestyle choices, and all these problems mentioned in this video related to fast fashion continues to propagate and continues in a new form. A new company comes up, a new way of doing business comes up, but all of which are essentially the same garbage, same problems continuing in different packaging. When the resolution has already been executed by many countries, many places, many cities, in order to stem and do the problem, fix the problem in the right way, all that is needed is a wiser person is needed. A person who understands that some loss is not a big deal is needed. A person who understands what is the right loss you should take. Is it a better and in the case of the US company that they talked about, they didn't even face a meaningful loss because insurances paid them out, and they didn't even have a loss. So essentially they didn't get a loss to even understand what is the deeper repercussions of what they did to those people, how they were responsible both karmically as well as socially and socioeconomically in ruining people's lives, when they had very well the chance of not doing it, or after they got the insurance payout, they could have compensated the families, they could have built better factories, they could have understood the lesson that they needed to learn from the accident that happened that killed so many workers, by ensuring that the future generation didn't have the same problem. And maybe some company did indeed end up doing it, but majority of the people didn't end up doing it, didn't end up learning the lesson. And even though the laws changed as a result of what happened to those factory workers, or what kept happening to multiple other unreported workers, what kept happening was, many companies just simply started shifting. They don't want to pay extra money to the workers. They don't want to improve and invest in improving worker conditions. They don't want to understand that when economic downturns are happening and your products are not going to be bought, that is the time when you are actually meant to sit down and fix the problems that are fixable, which is what I learned when I was doing retail business. The times when we didn't have a busy time at work, we were meant to, part of it was a time to relax at work, because if you are overworked, if I'm working in a month, there are some days every month, if there is a holiday season happening, during those holiday weekends we would have a period of overwork. So after the holidays, if there is a period of 1 week, when if 1 week before the holidays I'm overworked, 2 3 days after the holiday weekend I am overworked, if the next 1 week after those I do not get overworking conditions, then it gives my body the time to relax, it gives my mind the time to relax, it gives my nerves the time to relax and recover from the stress of being overworked and pushing myself to do more work than I normally do, and pushing myself to meet needs that suddenly comes up during a holiday season. But if I don't get that time to relax, if I don't get the time to uh, recover the energy output that I have given, I need, again, my body needs the rest, my body needs the relaxation to get back the energy into my body again. All the stored energy that I've used up, all the stored resources that I've used up in thinking how to increase efficiency when less workers are there, or when more demand was there, that phase when I'm resting and relaxing also gives time not only for me to rest and relax, but some other times of the day when some gaps in relaxing time are happening, when I'm not constantly overworked. Those 1 2 hours are the time when I ensure that more quality can be built into the work I am giving to someone. So the things where some workers, some patients problem did got missed by someone because it is holiday season, even the pharmacist who's a regular pharmacist might have gone to vacation. If the regular pharmacist has gone on vacation, at that time a floater who has come, he doesn't know all the normal protocols that needs to be done, so he has missed some of the normal protocols. So when the floater has missed the normal protocols and I have the downtime, all the things the person who was unfamiliar with the workflow of the pharmacy has missed, those things now I have to start doing. They might have put medications in the wrong place, they might have counted something wrong. When a busy workflow is there, you can end up making mistakes also. They might have missed some patient's requests, and a patient's medication could have got delayed because of it. All these fixes that need to be done, now you can get to fix the problems that were left for later on fixing or forgotten that they need to be fixed. at the time when you're getting the downtime. So that's why downtimes are equally important. But most companies decide, or most humans have this tendency that we have to do more, 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 or gain, gain, gain. And that's why whenever humans personally have that attitude that I have to do more, I have to gain more, I have to be paid more, and do not take the time to understand why they need the downtime. Like in this video end also, you will see he said maybe my video is a few minutes more than I wanted to make the video, and in between he was sitting and discussing something with presumably his co-worker who helps him make these videos, edits these videos. And he's also talking about shifting revenues via using a different platform. Why is he doing it? Because his revenues are possibly decreasing, or his content needs to be improved, or like the reason why he is meant to have a downtime, he needs to also realize about his business. He's also operating a business in a much smaller scale than a large scale company that is making fast fashion. But even in his business, if he now uses understands that when he has a downtime, maybe it's time to go and take a vacation. If he has not seen his mother and parents for a long time, it's time to go and see his parents. If he has never been actually to a country like Bangladesh to see what is the repercussion of what he's talking about in his videos, maybe it's time to actually see what happens to those workers if they lose the job, if they don't lose the job, if they continue in the job. What alternatives do those workers have? Because in order to really deeply solve the climate change problem, maybe once he has enough revenues, it's time for him to use the revenues that he has in the right way as well. And all of us, that is how we can stop the problem of fast fashion. First, realizing if there are about 300 million Americans, and every year 68 million of products are being thrown away in trash. What does that mean? It means that I'm not using that 68 million worth of products, and 68 million is getting thrown in waste, land waste. But the actual number that is getting discarded by people is likely double that. It is going either double or a little bit more. So maybe 100 million is what out of 300 million purchases being done, one third of it is just going somewhere. And then when some of it is getting reused by desert factory like places, like we have desert industry in Utah, we have Uptown Cheapskate in Utah, all these companies, they sell second hand material. There's also many baby clothes exchanging places also present in Utah, and it is happening in Utah because Utah is a family oriented culture and there is poverty in Utah. So that's why to use up some of these clothes that are not being used, you give it to other people. But how this video suggested, instead of giving it simply to the poor, which I used to do whenever I have moved, and when I finally did my India's move, I felt how much clothes should I keep donating and donating. And then I had many Indian clothes that I didn't feel like donating, because I knew that most of my Indian clothes, if I put away in the trash and donate it away in the Indian clothes, Indian utensils, if I even give it away to someone in an American place, most Americans don't know how to use my Indian clothes. For most Americans, it will get wasted. So then I ended up giving away some of my Indian clothes to my friends, or I gave away to some shelter which helps domestic abuse shelter that does have some Indian population come for domestic abuse related help. I also try to sell some of these things. And of course, with the clothes, I also had some attachment to my clothes. So many of my clothes I didn't even give away, especially my Indian clothes. Many of my Indian clothes I also brought back to India. But still, because I was doing a whole country move and I had a big wardrobe of clothes accumulated from 13 years of living there, and despite having donated over the years, minorly every few years whenever I used to move from one place to other, then also I had a huge accumulation of clothes. So eventually, after going through the process of the mass consumerism, where I have accumulated a lot of clothes which I had to give away simply because if I became thinner at that time, I gave away some clothes which looked like, because I also got pulled into the fashion thing. So because I never wore high heels in India, I decided I'll buy some high heels in US. But when I eventually bought high heels, I decided high heels are not my thing to buy. Or I bought flat heeled shoes, but they were still shoes that were inappropriate for me, because in fast fashion, in quick shopping, when we are busy and you're shopping quickly for an event, at that time many mindfulness related things are absent in our purchases. So now I have realized lately, in the last few years, how it is important to actually buy things that you actually want to wear, to actually buy products that you really need, to actually buy products that are really good quality. And good quality doesn't always come from a high end store. Sometimes a high end store also, nowadays I have realized, gives you really bad quality products. They just charge you 10 times more money for a bad quality product versus a cheaper place which will also charge you a bad quality product but also charge you 10 times less money. So now this has become the problem zone of modern buyers: where to invest the money, how to invest the money, how to ensure that you're buying good quality. And even though I want to meaningfully buy a really good quality product, sometimes I'm still not getting that good quality products, because there are now, the more you have ignored a problem, the number of the technically, this first problem of workers burning away in a factory that happened in early 1900s means all this industry related to fashion had 100 years to actually meaningfully resolve the problems related to all the elements of fashion that they need to resolve. But unfortunately, the truth is, majority of these industries didn't take the time to learn their lessons and take the minor level loss. Because imagine if a company had to simply take a 10 million loss, or even not even 10 million. If it was 1900s, that company would have only taken, maybe needed to take maybe a thousand, 10,000 or 100,000 loss at first in order to pay some of its workers a meaningful wage. But instead of getting that 100,000 loss to the worker and giving that money to its workers, what did they do? They gave the money to the CEOs of the company, who is saving the money for the company. They gave the money to establish a factory in another country, and instead of paying their workers $15 an hour, and they might have seen that their factory lease might have gone away, or the factory in which they have to and they saw that the cost of leasing another factory will be expensive, or the factory needs repairs but the cost will be expensive. So whatever was needed, the $15 an hour wage was needed, 100,000 in rent was needed. All of that, with that same 100,000 rent, now they can open up possibly three factories in another country and pay, possibly instead of paying only 100 workers in US, they can pay 1,000 workers in some other country. So that's why they shifted it. They can see that, oh, this is much more beneficial for me. And after even paying 1,000 workers, opening even three more factories in another country, or two factories in one country where the sewing will be done, where the cotton raising will be done, where the weaving will be done, and then in another country where the assembling of the products, quality control checks will be done, and then it will come to US. So like that, the how the clothes are traveling from one country to other, this carbon footprint increased with multiple travel destinations for that product. And why is it also going from Bangladesh to Mexico? Because it will, that product that is going to be initially something is done in the manufacturing and assembling process in Bangladesh. From there, it is going to Mexico or South America, so that it will now then get distributed to other countries. So from Bangladesh, it might go to South America, and from South America or Africa, and from South America or Africa, it might then go to Europe or Dubai for those customers that company is selling to Dubai and or Europe. and then the rest of it will go to Mexico. From there, it will be sold to Europe or US or Canada. Or it will go to South America, one country in South America, and then get redistributed to other South American states or cities. And same way, it just gets, and from Bangladesh, is it only traveling this way? No, if it has to go to Australia or New Zealand, it will go into in between islands, nations like Indonesia, or it will go to Fiji, and then it will go somewhere else. So there are so many intermediate things being done because that company is multinational company. That company is operating globally in 100 different countries, because when now, instead of 100 workers producing some let's say 1,000 pieces of clothing, now when 1,000 workers are there, they are producing 100,000 pieces of clothing. And because they have now more clothing, they also want to expand, and this is how everyone gains their profit also. If I'm doing more, I'm showing to my bosses that I'm doing more, then I'll be eligible for more raise, or I can pay myself more raise. But if I do more with less money, then the extra money that is saved, that the CEO, that the top level CEOs will pay themselves. And which is what ends up happening. Everyone is in a what mode? Everyone is in a gain mode, selfishness driven mode. I only want to have the best life mode. I want to do the high class, top class worker, so that I can wine and dine and relax. And it doesn't matter, the consciousness of the human is beaten down. All people are doing is looking at the logical elements of the work they have to do, and forgetting that life isn't simply about logic. Life is about balancing logic with heart. Life is also about doing work soulfully, meaningfully, mindfully, keeping in the equation the needs of other people who are under your responsibility. Because if you're a CEO of a multinational company, everyone in that company is your responsibility. But that responsibility most people do not want to take. And when they don't want to take that responsibility, that is when the company keeps going into only the selfish zones of the top tier 10 employees or top tier 100 employees getting the gain that they can gain. But the remaining 100,000 employees that they are employing now, they do not get any benefits, or very superficial benefits are given to them. And until the benefits are given, until when? Until the time when it is profitable for the company to give those benefits. And the moment it again becomes unprofitable, again they will shift the market, which has happened. If the companies were in China earlier, and earlier the Chinese laws were such that they were easily able to continue having that place in China or Bangladesh or India, they will continue there. But the moment it is again not sustainable for them to work in China or work in India, then they will move it into where it is moved to South America or Africa. And like that, they will continue moving, like they will continue moving, and until they find that place where that exploitation can continue, the blame just shifts. So the slavery that was happening in America, that slavery that was abolished in America, even before that, the slavery that was and from where did it come to America? Slavery came to America from Africa only. So it started from Africa, it has gone back to Africa. But did it change? The narrative just changed. Initially, when it started in Africa, the slavery that we knew about Africa was what slavery? It was the slavery related to pyramid building and kings' vices. About the kings at that time were building pyramids, exploiting workers related to their pyramid related work. But was it just simply a pyramid related work that was getting exploited? They were likely exploiting workers in the farming industry, in the business, everywhere worker exploitation was going on. And again, the reasoning was the same thing. Anyone who's at the top who doesn't realize that you simply cannot derive work from other people by exploiting them, that person continues the trajectory of exploitation of workers, and it just changed form. Earlier it was the Egyptians doing it, the pharaohs doing it. Now instead of the Egyptians and the pharaohs doing it, it is the in some other country it is a different population doing it. In India it's the Indians doing it to other Indians. In China it's the Chinese doing it to some other Chinese. In Africa it is some Africans doing it to other Africans, along with the main owners of the company, who could be Chinese, who could be Indian, who could be American, who could be Australian. It doesn't matter, or it could be even a conglomerate of people operating from multiple countries doing this work, but none of them ready to do the true work that is needed to balance life on earth. And whenever the worker conditions are indeed unsustainable, these deaths do end up happening, because with the deaths you're meant to wake up. With the deaths, with the harm that is going on, you're meant to wake up and jar up certain segments of society as to what is going on. But is the problem just you make policy change and you start buying things ethically or researching whether a company is doing ethical work? No. It is also, if your friend is working in that company, that friend also needs to realize that every element of work that they do, if they bring ethics and sustainable ventures and true sustainability at every element of the work they are doing, the more degree of ethicalness you bring into your work, the more degree of realizing that I shouldn't be always focused on win, 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 that people bring as a company culture in their company's work. That is when only true change can happen. So if you are a business that 5 years back before COVID, you were making a lot of profit, and you after COVID your profitability has started going down, it is the time in this downtime to ensure that you support better worker health, you support better working conditions, you reduce the production for certain reasons that you have to slowly ramp down the production. And when you are in a high, you will see when you are in a high also, if you have let's say the high of making money from something is actually equivalent to the high of drug addiction. So for treating a drug addict, there are many medications you have to sometimes give, which is also mimicking the drug that they are taking. It's just that some of the drugs that they are given that mimics the drug that they are taking for that all-time high of the drug is supposed to be partially less harmful and slightly less toxic to your body than the drug you have got addicted to. And then slowly you are supposed to ramp down your addiction, meaning if you were taking hundreds of not hundreds, let's say you were 100 milligram of a certain drug you are getting addicted to daily. Now from that 100 milligram you have to first shift to a lower dose, then a lower dose, then a lower dose, or shift to another medication that's whose impact on your body is slightly less than these drugs. So like that, and then you have to taper down all drug use. Even the medicine that you're using to solve your drug addiction problem, that medicine also eventually needs to be stopped. But unfortunately, instead of using that treatment protocol and stopping those drugs also that are the intermediate drugs used to treat, what has happened, those drugs that were meant to treat a drug addiction problem now can become addictive to a person, or now can become a gateway drug for prescription drug related addictions. So if you don't truly solve the problem in the right way, and the right way of resolving the problem is not simply making profit out of a drug addict, but after treating the drug addict, ensure that the drug addict stays addiction free. Take the measures necessary that needs to make a person free of drug addiction, and that person free being, and not create newer addicts in the form of prescription drug addiction. But that also starts happening. Newer addicts can also get created. Why? Because what has not been solved, the root problem, that these people who are drug addicts, these people who are, they are also consuming, they are also in a all-time high, they want to live in a all-time high. The people who are drug addicts, they want to live in either all-time denial or all-time high. The all-time denial could be that they are not as successful for as others, but so what, you, if you have the attitude that so what, I'm not as successful as my brother or my cousin, or my parents beat me 10 times a day, whereas other people didn't get beaten by these parents, my friends didn't get beaten, so you have this pain, you have this trauma, you have this, so you want to avoid the pain, you want to avoid the trauma. That is one reason some people is person is addicted. Another person is addicted because they didn't get beaten or anything, they were very privileged, but they don't know what to do with the money they have. And initially, and they want to chase the high of emotional high that you get, the psychological high that you get from taking a drug, because there is no one to give them the true happiness. Because whatever you are chasing, if you have pain, what you are chasing is a true meaningful connection with another human being who will understand your pain, who will alleviate your pain in a balanced humane connection way, than seeking it via a medication or a drug that will artificially give you that high, artificially for a few hours present that in your life. And also, even with a human interaction, you have to understand, the same human with whom you may have 10 good days, you will also are supposed to technically have 10 bad days also with that human. Or if not 10 bad days, there will be some okay days, and there will be some really bad days with them as well. Because that is balanced life. In a true balanced relationship with any family, you are meant to learn the experience of good experiences, bad experiences. You can't constantly chase a high. And that is where only in our modern lives, everyone having got sucked into the idea that we have to chase a high, is the reason why we can't handle the lows. And when we can't handle the lows, or we can't understand the value of a low, is when systems fail, we fail, we are actually tending to fail as a human, balanced human. And whenever we are imbalance is there in our personal life, imbalance will eventually seep up from our personal life into our professional life. Then it will seep up, and you will keep all these mistaken perception that those who had parents who were abusing them, and not because of the abuse. Maybe you have a financially abusive parent, and as a result of the financially abusive parent, when you have finances, you want to buy more. That starts happening. Or even if you weren't a financially abusive parent, if you were even a financially balanced parent, at a time also many children end up still buying more. Why? Because while their parent was a mindful parent, connected parent, meaningful parent, wasn't a parent who was simply focusing on consumerism. They were a parent who were also focusing on balanced activities and meaningful connection with the family. But the person you ended up marrying is not that kind of a balanced person, who doesn't know how to bring balanced family life in your life. So you have this void now in your system, the void that is not getting filled by the person you're dating or the person you're marrying. And then that void not being filled, the balanced void that you had with your family, now that you haven't created and built with your own family. Because understand, when you're growing up in a family, before you were born, if technically your parents were really wise parents, they might have taken 4 5 years to learn each other, understand each other, perfect life with each other in a way that they know how to navigate the highs and lows with each other. And after having known that with how to balance life with each other, then they decided to have a baby. And after they had a baby and a couple of children, slowly they built the steps to how to lead a balanced functional life with all the extra people in the family, right? And they were also, while simultaneously building a network of communication and balanced lifestyle with their children, they were also building it with their friends, also building it with their family and community. That is where the more evolved you are building a life with multiple people, that is where you become more functional and balanced adults. And you also have to inculcate what self awareness of what is my role, what is it that I am capable of doing when I am functioning with multiple siblings, multiple community members. What is my role? What kind of other people are needed to complement me to now recreate the same life, a balanced life I had with my family? But if you're not able to recreate that, if you instead just realize Now in your marriage, if you don't do that, let's say you go into a marriage where you have seen your parents work hard, so you know how to work hard, but you didn't observe what your siblings were doing, you didn't observe what your community was doing, you didn't observe what socially things are needed to make a functional, healthy, balanced life. What will start happening if you didn't observe it, if you didn't create like how your parents build a community of friends, or how your siblings help support you in all the flaws that you have in your life. You have to also now build that with your own children, build that with your own spouse, build that with your own friends, build that with your own colleagues. So that network that was built around you, the ecosystem that was built around one human, if you don't build that, that was partly because of how your parents built it. Now you have to build it for yourself. But if you don't build it, then what starts happening is depression will start happening, anxiety will start happening, the void will start getting created. Why am I not having the same experience as my parents? Partly because some of the experiences that you are chasing is very different from what your parents were chasing. If your parents were chasing to build community life, build social life, were they chasing money, were they chasing materialistic goods, were they chasing the next best thing that was marketed towards them? Possibly not. Or even if they were chasing some of those aspirational goods, they were only buying, maybe in their whole 30, 40, 50 years as parents, they have bought only 50 items. That too, all the 50 items that they bought were, one item was for their brother, one was for their sister, one was for their child, like that, some meaningful things they bought. Whereas you are just buying for yourself, not willing to share it with anyone, not realizing that what you're accumulating and collecting for yourself is meant to be shared by with other people. You are only selfishly doing more for yourself than for others. So you are creating a selfish life with your spouse, then your child will also learn about that selfish life. And how you are creating a selfishness driven personal life, you're also creating a selfishness driven professional life. And that same level worker who is selfishly doing things for themselves in the personal life will also continue doing selfishly things in the professional life. And then you become the CEO of the company, you will continue the same chain of misery that your boss was continuing. Because given, if the boss was 10% selfish, you are 50% selfish, then the next generation is 70% selfish. And the more selfish you are, the more you will have lack of awareness about, or more mindlessly you do work, like thinking that all we need to do is continue just making more and more and more profits. The more and more and more that you are interested in will continue. And then eventually what will happen is the next generation will be depressed, the next generation will be harmed, the next generation will be health harmed in a such a way that that industry that you have built so with so much time and effort, that industry will crash. Because then eventually you have no choice but to crash something that is unsustainable, unworkable, not possible for it to go on functioning. And while initially the warnings to crash that industry will come from the two deaths that were mentioned in this video, one was the worker death in US, the worker death in Bangladesh, but in intermediate deaths or intermediate harms had also happened, where workers got ill in some other place of US, workers had job losses in US and Bangladesh, workers had factory shutdowns, workers had large like these retail stores now that are buying like Zara fashion. Once the Zara fashion got popular, is it just Zara? There were other competitors who came who wanted to sell even cheaper fashion than Zara. Zara is still the expensive fashion, expensive, cheap, and fast fashion. But there is cheap fashion, which is even worse worker conditions, even worse pay for the workers, which is companies like Kmart, Walmart, Walgreens. They are also selling all these cheap things. And in those cheap things now that they are selling, in those cheap things, those companies now, what has happened eventually, Kmart, that was one of the biggest retailers, Sears also, that was one of the biggest retailers 20-30 years back. they slowly had to wrap down their businesses, because again, all the things that were possible in going wrong with their businesses started going wrong, because there's no one to understand how to deeply resolve the problem. Kmart could have shifted the narrative. Kmart could have realized that they don't need to compete with Walmart to stay relevant, but they had to still do something different than Walmart. They had to still do something different than Costco or Sam's Club. They had to still understand that all this overproduced products that they have created, that no one is buying because they are cheap fashion, low fashion, or now become expensive also for some people to buy, because there is a limit, right? You can continue buying from Kmart until when? Until the product is durable, and if you're poor, you need some durable products. But if you're not getting durable products, or you're getting the durable, seemingly durable product or a cheap product from Walmart, so they went to Walmart. All your competitors are now taking away the cheaper end of the customers. So then what do you do with the mid-level customers? Or because of fast fashion, when desperate industry and thrift fashion is also coming up, you have to realize your competitor is the thrift fashion. Your competitor is that poor person who doesn't have enough money to buy any clothes at all. So you have to start giving away also some of the extra clothes you're making. You also might have to start donating it. You also now, instead of focusing on cheap fashion, you have to focus on high end, slightly higher end fashion, more good quality fashion, and also realize the right balance of how much you should be stocking in your company. Because many of these companies also start doing what, if thousands, if in US only 100 clothes were being produced, but in a foreign factory 1,000 clothes are being produced, they will push all that extra thousands, that are 10 times more products are now getting pushed into their retail stores. But should you be pushing it into your retail stores, or should you allow your retail stores to stock according to what is being popularly bought by the market in that area? And should you, instead of overworking these workers in Bangladesh or some other country, instead of doing that, and instead of continuously pushing that you have to, if I pay you $2 an hour, every month your factory has to give me 1,000 clothes. Why do they have to give you 1,000 clothes every month? Why can't they give you 1,000 clothes when you need 1,000 clothes? But the time when you don't need 1,000 clothes, you can also still continue giving them $2. Wait until the market wants another 1,000 clothes. This thing people don't want to do, because they feel it is lost business if for the $2 they are not getting a $10 worth of profit. But which is where that is the problem. For the $2, why do you need $10 worth of profit? Only so that in your bank balance you will show a certain profit, but that profit eventually went away. So the CEOs or other people in Walmart or Kmart or any of these retail stores that eventually starts closing up, when there were hundreds of Kmarts earlier in the world, and more than hundreds were there. In my city only there were at least 20-30 Kmarts in my state. So like that for 50 states of US, if even 10 Kmarts were there in 50 states of US, there are 500 Kmarts that used to be there earlier in US. But now there are not even 10 of the company that finally bought Kmart. Same way with Sears, same way with any company that eventually fails, because you set up all the conditions for your company to fail only. And initially the fail is now happening to all the older retailers who had leases that they can't renew, who had business practices that is not sustainable anymore, who doesn't have any market to sell their products anymore. All of which they could have resolved in the right way, but if they understood how to change their business patterns, how to maybe even restructure their business in a right way. Like if you have excess inventory, instead of again demanding another factory worker to produce thousands of goods, give them the rest. Whatever goods you already have in your store, do something different with it, because that is where innovation could have come into picture. You could have given them fashion where, you could have asked those workers, instead of producing sewing buttons, like what are these workers doing in Bangladesh factories or Chinese factories? They are sewing button, they are sewing pockets. But you could have evolved your business into, instead of when you give them rest, you also give them time to think something different. When you give someone time to think something different, instead of sewing the buttons on the clothes or sewing the pockets on the shirts, they can also start now sewing some embroidery on your clothes, sewing the less poor quality material. Like, why will someone not go and buy at a Kmart versus Walmart? Because if in Walmart also I'm getting a cheap cloth that after one use it will tear away, the seams will fall apart, and in Kmart also I'm getting that same thing, but Kmart is selling it to me at $2 extra money, a person is going to Walmart to get it, fine. But that clothes that are now, if you realize why is your cloth getting rejected, if your cloth was getting rejected because it is falling off at the seams, if you had hired a seamstress in your store, or hired someone from those Bangladesh factories or other, trained some people to do stitching and other activities inside your stores, altering activities. Some of these clothes didn't have the right fit sometimes, so if you started doing altering activities, if you had shifted your business to actually meet the needs of some other people who may not be as poor, and who may still, I still would have preferred buying at Kmart, not only because I was working at Kmart, but I found some advantages to going to a store which is not overcrowded like Walmart. So you had an advantage. You had a market who didn't want to go to Walmart, who didn't want to go to overcrowded stores, who wanted to search for good quality products in a place peacefully. So I found those products in Sears and Kmart stores sometimes, or any other Macy's, wherever good fashion is there. That is what I was looking for. But other than good fashion, I was also looking for, if I need to repair my clothes, if some place would offer me that repairing of clothes, if all you need to do is tweak your clothes in the right way, or understand that if your product is not getting sold, what most companies practice is, when your products are not getting sold, you're giving it off at buy one get one free, or giving it off at 10-20% discount. But instead, that is okay when you are producing good quality products, when you are selling good quality products, when you are selling functional products to a customer, then the customer will buy those things easily. But the moment there is a tipping point always to these things as well. The moment the tipping point has happened where it is not sustainable anymore, that I continue buying crappy products, for me the tipping point was job losses, the tipping point was country moves, the tipping point. So even though I gave the US industry hundreds and thousands of dollars in buying so many clothes and so many products, they lost that customer the moment the customer has shifted the country. Right now, in my place, if another Indian now comes, but they are much more frugal in nature, are they going to get that customer? Or in my place, if another customer comes who is not much more frugal than me but much more expansive than me, both of which is a problem. Like, if you take away the person who can do balanced work in your country, who can do balanced shopping according to the needs of their socioeconomic condition, according to the needs of understanding sustainability, if that mindful person is moved away from your company, from your country, from your personal life, from your social life, every single person who can bring balance, when they are removed away, more imbalance happens. So the moment, if there was even 10 CEOs in Kmart who knew how to even work with the awful working conditions, because I knew, even though my company was going in a very awful direction and certain things related to pharmacy related, both clothes retail related stuff, pharmacy related stuff, both with the clothing and other Kmart stocking inventory, I have a little bit observational experience and consumer perspective experience. But with the medications, I had the direct experience of why the medications related problems were cropping up in our pharmacies. Now, if those meaningful experiences that I'm understanding, if there's no one to listen to an employee simply because you are a foreign employee, or because you didn't even create a way for any employee to honestly actually discuss what is the problem zone of the company, or you think someone who is a lower level employee doesn't have any meaningful input for you, only the one who is at the top CEO level has the meaningful input, you will never find the right answer. Even if in your company of hundreds and thousands of employees there were right answer present in some of the inputs of the wiser employees, but the wiser employee or the balanced employee or the employee who understands deeper these things will not always be the employee who is wanting to be at a CEO level, or may not have had that many years of experience to actually reach the CEO level when the company is crashing. But doesn't mean that they don't know how the company is crashing, why the company is crashing, what the company could do to shift the crash. But when you don't know how to mine the true workers, the true changes that are, when you don't know how to make the true changes that are needed to really shift your company to a better direction, you will chase the false changes, and the false changes are always chased because people are not ready to accept loss and understand that when you have loss, how to shift the loss into also a profitable thing is something that is needed when a company is going down. But people don't know how to shift it, and how to shift it in a balanced way where loss will still be there, but the loss that you have to take is a acceptable loss. But this acceptable loss concept, only when humans forget that, they don't understand what is acceptable loss, what was the acceptable loss of a like with the Bangladesh workers or with the American workers, the acceptable loss was you pay more workers. The workers in US, you employ 100 workers and give them $15 wage. That was the acceptable loss you should have taken 100 years back. And now if there was a company which did take all these losses and did give some who did do many ethical ventures in their steps of business, many of those companies will eventually not end. Like even after 100 200 years, that company might still continue. If there is indeed any company in the world which has indeed appreciated the right acceptable losses, understood the value of paying the worker fair wages, but they may not be the company that is getting the Harvard business review. They may not be in the Fortune 500 companies of the world. They may not be the company that is the world's largest retailer. They may not be the company which has 500 or 1,000 stores in multiple countries of the globe. They will be silently and quietly having done all these fair wages, fair working conditions, fair living conditions. They are likely that company somewhere out there in the world that is continuing to do the fair practices, ethical practices, just that they are not going to be the most popular company. They might not even be financially a company that is showing a mass scale profit. They will most likely be a company that is showing some profit, and some profit that they also keep using back into their business, understanding that after profit, the profit that you generated has to be kept putting back and get invested back in the business operations, in the worker conditions, in the ethical business practices. But if you do not have ethics, do not have, and then that company is also likely to be more sustainable. They may not be selling millions of dollars worth of goods. They might be selling only 10 goods, but the 10 goods they would be selling is likely going to be good quality goods, long lasting goods, which is what our earth needs. We all need long lasting goods, good quality goods, and goods, when they get bad quality, something that will easily disintegrate and merge with the earth. So like for example, if I have a bed which is good quality bed that was produced in India, and that bed was now used for 30-40 years by my family, and after, or even 100 years by my family, but after using it for 100 years, when it starts breaking down, let's say the bed frame is good but the place where I used to sleep, the middle part, because children might be naughty and children would have danced on the bed. The middle part of the bed has now broken apart and disintegrated. What do you do with that broken wood? Now, if it is good quality wood, if it is wood that was ethically made and retrieved and it was from 100-year less more cleaner earth, that wood can now be used. If the wooden parts of the bed, some parts have broken down, some of it can be recycled. Even now, some of it could be recycled. If it is artistically broken down, it can be changed now into some artwork on the wall, some artwork in my room, some or it can be used for cutting it down and using it on my windows where some window needs repair. You can do that, you can repurpose it, but to repurpose it, you need the right eye, you need the right person to understand how to repurpose it. Same way with the Sears or any other Kmart clothes, where the only problem is a little bit of problem related to you have like really good quality clothes. Most of the cloth is good quality, but because it has been staying longer in your store, some of it and the workers may not have been mindfully handling your product, so a button might have fallen off from your jacket. Now, it's a very good quality jacket. It is $100 jacket. It is worth buying also for $100. But all that has happened is one button has gone off. Now, if you have mindful workers there, if you put mindfulness based practices related to quality control shouldn't be simply at the factory level. It should also be there at the selling level. It should also be there at the storing level. But where will that quality control happen? If you now employ workers from Walmart who are constantly busy, will they know how to give you quality work? And because you think they are coming from Walmart, they'll give you good tips and incentives how to do your business in Kmart really well. That's why you have poached someone from Walmart. No, the poaching works only when you have poached someone from a more relaxed setting. And if you want some innovations in your business because your business is not going well, you actually realistically need someone who has taken the time to understand what has gone wrong, what can be fixed, how it can be fixed in a best way, how after fixing it in a best way, you don't keep repeating the same mistakes that is leading for your business's failure. So if a button needs to be fixed, you need to hire someone to fix the button in the retail. And when maybe you don't even have to hire a seamstress, but you could be, I know how to fix a button. So if you had hired someone like me who is also from Bangladesh or who's also from India, but who also knows how to do these quick easy fixes, and also able to do it when the downtime is there in the company, or who is also from you can hire some grandmother from US to work in your store who knows how to fix and sew a button. So if that grandmother and because she is maybe elderly, she may have Parkinsonism or may not be a very efficient worker, but do you just need, like in Walmart they have elderly people doing the greeting work, but do you just need a elderly for doing greeting work? You can also use the elderly for doing mindful work, for showing people how to fold laundry better, fold the clothes better so that they don't get frayed easily. Because the more mindfulness you put in your practices, those same mindfulnesses cause your good quality. Like Kmart might have had, actually Kmart did have many a times much more better quality products than Walmart, according to me. Many a times some products are more or less similar, but some products were indeed good quality. So when those good quality products were there, and I didn't even mind paying extra $5 or $2 per product. Why? Because I'm getting less crowded conditions. I don't have to wait in long lines. I don't have to bump against hundreds of people while in the store. So there were customers, there were 20-30% customer population of that area who were still frequenting your store. But you have to meet those customers' needs instead of competing. Like if Kmart had differentiated themselves as to what are we meeting, whose needs are we meeting. They were meeting elderly needs, but they were wanting to now implement technology in elderly people's lives who do not need that technology. What they need is, they do need some technology, but the way they need the technology is very different from the way the technology was being delivered for them to them, and they were trying to implement these technological changes into Kmart, maybe because some CEO who came in Kmart came from Zara, which had better technology, or came from Walmart, which had better IT inventory management systems or something like that. But again, what works for one company should not be working for another company. There's a reason why another company is existing. But the reason for that company's existence, if you do not understand what is the core advantage why your company exists, and that core advantage, if you don't take care of it in the right way, mindful way, business aligned way, then also your company starts failing, because you are trying to replicate something that should not be replicated. Or even if you replicate it, it has to be mindfully replicated, because there were certain things related to, they wanted elderly people to make email addresses so that you can continue sending them coupons and other things to induce them to keep coming to your store. But they didn't, many of the Kmarts didn't realize, because of the coupons, because of the coupon oriented public who were coming, there were many people who were physically and financially capable of using actually spending money on your store, but they were not ready to spend that money, because you created a system of people too much dependent on coupons, who were now using there was a coupon scam going on about related to Kmart in my state. And that coupon scam, every Kmart employee knows about it, or at least those Kmart employees who have worked for decades in that company knows about it. But if you fire the decade old employee simply because the employees has got elderly, and that person knowing now, which customers are constantly just misusing the coupons, we would have taken some initiatives, also personal initiatives, to ensure that they will not misuse the coupons too much. And there were some stores who knew misuse of coupons are going on, but they don't care, because they don't want to be chewed in by their heads in case some of these customers will complain. So these type of people were there. So those who don't care about the status quo, that they know that customers are misusing the policies, they didn't want to do anything. But the people who did want to do something about misuse of coupons eventually Kmart woke up, but it took them almost 5 years to wake up that how much of coupon related problems they are creating. But the more delay they are taking in waking up to the problem, that delay kept on happening again and again. Why? Because again, when the company is doing downturns, instead of searching for a competitor who is competitors, like taking someone from Zara, or taking someone from Walmart, or taking someone from Walgreens, to get inspiration from them to improve your company in the downtime, you could have mined your employees who understand why your company is failing. But in order for you to mine, what do you have to do? You have to listen to employee complaints, those employees who are leaving the company and are honest enough to give you the right feedback. You have to be authentic, you have to understand authentic complaints, and complaints that are authentic, as well as like the company's employees, when they are leaving and they have given you a meaningful feedback, look at the feedback as to what the person said when they left. Or if before feedback also certain things happened where there was maybe some pharmacist or some retailer who understood that coupons are getting misused and they were getting a lot of inventory loss, so they started becoming more mindful. But that mindful employee, the moment he is fired or the moment he leaves the job, because he can't take the stress of the things that at the company level needs to be fixed, these things you didn't address. You didn't use the downtime to examine your own operations first. What in our set of operations are going wrong that needs to be fixed? Then how will you fix it? That was what was the purpose of the downtime, purpose of the losses happening in your company, purpose of understanding after the losses how to regain the losses in a better way. And one of it would have been to stop the production temporarily. And so what, you understand this if you have shifted your company to a different country, and again, as I said, if you have taken them to Bangladesh or some other country or South America or Mexico, you could start implementing something related to Mexican culture in your clothes, something related to Bangladeshi culture. There was another secondary reason why you had Bangladesh as a place where the clothes were getting manufactured, because Someone Bangladeshi is also living in US, someone Bangladeshi is also living in Europe, someone Bangladeshi is also living in Australia. So a person from Bangladesh might be also more ready to buy products from Bangladesh just simply because, oh, this is my country, home country, so I'll buy made in Bangladesh product. So for that reason also they might buy that product. But why will I also buy made in Bangladesh product? If that Bangladesh product had fused now, had done some with fast fashion, done some fusion of fashion, then also I would have bought it. So in the downtime, instead of giving them 1,000 clothes to make, they now make only 10 clothes, with the rest of the time they use for prettying the clothes according to how a Bangladeshi might wear fashion. Like it would be a fusion fashion between Bangladeshi and American culture, or fusion fashion between Mexican and American culture. Could you have done that? There are so many ways you could have solved the problem, but the denial of accepting that loss is needed, the denial of understanding that after loss, why, what was it you were meaningfully meant to learn and change and shift, and a denial that some good employees also you have lost because you've not listened to the good employees because they got overburdened. Some employees got burnt out, that's why they left. Some employees, even if they complained 10 times, you didn't listen until it was too late. Some employees don't complain at all, and you keep rewarding those employees who don't complain at all, instead of understanding that not complaining is also a problem zone. If your company is failing, and you will see also the places where a company fails is mostly going to be those places where the employees don't complain even if really bad work conditions exist. So these are all the things, that complaints are also a necessary part of life. Complaints should happen, but whether the complaint is a quality complaint or a nuisance complaint, you need to realize that, because there could be places where a lot of complaints are happening but they have also nuisance workers. So understanding, do you have a nuisance worker or do you have a quality worker? And a quality worker will be someone who balances both the customer needs and the company needs, whereas a nuisance worker will be either only working according to their selfish needs, or they are nuisance because they are mischief makers. There are mischief makers also in the world who want to who don't like success, who want to self-sabotage, they have other mental health problems. So the downtime is also the time to understand which employee has mental health problems that needs to be resolved, like real, like mental health, social health problems, like they are possibly autistic, and because of being autistic they're not supposed to be in the customer end front. But you didn't realize there may be minor level autistics, you didn't realize that they shouldn't be doing customer service work, but you've given them the customer service job, when in fact during the downtime, if you realize this person is mild level autistic, shouldn't be given customer end work, they should be shifted into something else. But a autistic person may be very good at organizing a shelf, but the way in which shelves are organized in busy stores, you will see in Walmart, if you've ever entered Walmart, things are misplaced, things are disorganized. Why? Not all Walmarts, but some Walmarts which are over busy, overworked employees are there, they are like that. But Kmart didn't have that. Kmart had much better organization. So I am not very majorly autistic or OCD or anything, but I like neatness, tidiness in my shopping experience. So I would go to those stores where more neatness and tidiness was there, where less busy customers were there, and where good quality products were there. And as a result, because of all these three factors, that company should not even compare itself to a company which has 10 times more workers and is producing 100 times more crappy products. You have to stop competing with those companies and set the realistic expectation that given what my company delivers, where what is my niche? People don't understand their niche also. If you had stuck to your niche and improved your niche according to what your customer base needs than asking for extra customers, you could have got extra customers also, because when you develop your target markets base, only customer base, in a better way, if you had given me, like I am a Indian, and if you've given me some Indian fashion in a Macy's store or in a Mervyn store or any other store where they are giving me a little bit of fusion fashion, I went and shopped in those places. And then if you understand that the target market population of your state has shifted, like in California, earlier many Americans used to live there, but nowadays the trend is more Asians live in California. So now, if you target your fashion according to Asian population needs, would you have more success? And what a Asian needs will be thin, wiry, slim Asian will need something very different in comparison to a fat, robust, tall, muscular American, right? So all these things you have to understand, and what a Asian child might need, who is neither thin or wiry nor really tall, they are in between. That in between, half Americanized, half Asian child will need something very different from their parents, as well as what is the standard norm of an American population. So you do have a shifting population target market, and that shifting population's target market's business can be addressed by whom? The company that has a downtime, that company that gives employees the downtime to understand what the shifting market needs, the company now that focuses on the changing market and future of the market rather than getting stuck in the past. And those companies, that's why also some companies experience failures. But if you don't understand failures, downtimes, purpose of it, why you need it, where you need to take your company, and why you do not need to repeat the same things as other companies are doing, or when you are indeed repeating something that other companies are doing, you have to do it in an innovative way. Like Steve Jobs, he repeated what other companies are doing. He created a MP3 player, he created a digital clock, he created a phone that is giving you business related work functionality, which is giving you more communication thing than simply phone. It is giving you email also. So all these were getting produced by other companies as well, but in 10 different gadgets or 5 different gadgets. But the moment the iPhone came, 5 gadgets functionality got crystallized into one gadget, right? 5 or 10 multiple different gadgets functionality got crystallized in one gadget. And that's why whatever was going on, he was able to reproduce it, but he was able to reproduce it in a right manner. So that is very important, and that right manner, those Steve Jobs in his company, because he was an innovation oriented person and he used to think like this a lot. He demanded this of his workers, and that is where he went wrong, and that is where he also got pancreatic cancer. The way to stop him from practicing something, he was very reactionary to what he wanted to build in his next life and next life of innovation in his company. But instead of reactionarism, if he had taken the time to rest when he had cancer, taken the time to relax for a while, or allow his employees also to relax, then the next generation of a newer iPhone or a newer innovative product would have been built by his company. So knowing how to combine different things is a skill, knowing who to hire to combine different things is a skill. When he was getting also very annoyed with his employees who don't understand his level of innovation, he needed to also realize that some of those employees needed to be fired, some of those employees are not the right employees he should be working with, or he should take a break from interacting with those employees. When he understands that they have the talent but they are not at the same innovation level that he is at, so he needs to take a break now and take some holiday for 1 month, 2 months, which he started doing. He started doing a little bit of yoga, a little bit of spirituality related practices, but he had to actually technically inculcate more of that in his practice, because he also needed a downtime, his employees also needed a downtime. But when you are in the upward trend, people don't realize the value of why you need a downtime. So I hope this made sense, and this is how you actually truly solve the problem of earth pollution from multiple things. Knowing how to repurpose the products that you have already created when it is not getting sold, doing the examination at the beginning stage of when some product is not getting sold, why I shouldn't recreate this product again and again, or understanding that once having created this product, how is it I can repurpose it, even if I have some unsold units in my company now, how can I repurpose it, and in a earth aligned way. The moment you shift the narrative, like I only want to do it in a business perspective way and a profitability seeking way than in a earth aligned, socially responsible, sustainably responsible, thinking about earth pollution related parameters. Because the moment, let's say, this happened with iPhone only, because I mentioned iPhone, let's now mention iPhone only. The iPhone, there was a iPhone SE there, where there were people who had they had done surveys which showed that people wanted the smaller sized iPhone, and that's why the iPhone SE was released in the market. But what did they do wrong? Before they released the iPhone SE, they released the larger product that they had created, and that larger product was giving more things than what the SE was giving, and also the SE was not significantly cheaper in comparison to the larger product. Now, if they had done the pricing of the SE in a way where, because it is smaller and also because it is giving some lesser features, it should be priced a little less, much lesser than what they priced it at, SE didn't sell. Or if they had actually realistically sold the SE before the larger size product, it would have sold, because there were a segment of, I was one of those people who did want a SE like phone, and I would have also participated in those surveys where I spoke about wanting a smaller phone, because I'm a smaller woman, I do not have a large hand. I also have vitamin D deficiency and other health problems going on. So for the frail, for the elderly, for the sick, for the smaller sized person, a smaller phone is indeed advantageous. But at that time, if I am frail and small sized or weaker, and at that time when if I'm an elderly person and my phone is going to be bought by my son not understanding that I need a smaller product, a frailer product, a lighter product, or I'm a wife whose husband is gifting me something, again the mentality of more or larger or greater is so much inbuilt in our society that more and more and more lead someone, even if you want to buy a phone for your parent or buy a phone for your spouse or buy a phone for your child, don't realize that they don't want the bigger size or larger size, they want a lighter phone, they want a easier to use phone. That is what a elderly person, weaker person, sicker person is looking for, a lighter to hold phone. But they also want some functionality in it, and basic functionality. But because now you've used lesser materials to create that product, you could have made the product cheaper. But if you kept the product at similar price range as the phone which is heavier, the person who even then I might have bought a SE phone. I didn't buy at the time when this incidents related to iPhone SE and the next generation iPhone happened, because I already had some other phone. I was not buying iPhones in India because I had a iPhone customer service related issue. iPhone's customer service in India is crappy, and I had a phone from US which I couldn't use. There are two Apple related products that completely went waste in India after I moved back to India, simply because the customer service in India was not good about it. So as a result, even though I had warranty, I went before the warranty expired, I had paid $100 extra also to get that warranty. Despite that, they didn't replace my phone, they didn't take the initiative to repair my phone, both of which would have saved Apple a lot of tons of dollars of electronic waste. But again, right policies have not been created, right teaching has not been done, right implications of how you need to shift the narrative hasn't been done, and responsibility hasn't been taken by companies. So now when iPhone and this lesson they could have learned with the SE not being sold, and how to now sell the SE, they didn't reduce the price, they kept continuing to do bad practices now, which is adding to the electronic waste. And is it just iPhone that is doing it? No, other companies are also doing it. iPhone is just a more evident example, but other companies not been as famous as iPhone has also made those similar mistakes. It's just that their mistakes are not being studied, their mistakes are not being talked about in the news. That's why people don't know it. But the better way would have been, if you know that there is 30% market who wants the lighter phone, why are you creating products same competing cannibalizing product for that market itself, and releasing that cannibalized product before that SE was released. You should have released the SE first, knowing that all your data, but there is people inside the company also possibly who are fighting with each other for competition, and someone was likely in denial that lighter phone is needed. So that person who was in denial that lighter phone was needed, and that person was likely given the priority in his thoughts. So his ego was given priority, and that's why whoever's ego was given priority went ahead just to prove their point. They did this, that they went and released the larger phone first, which naturally will take the smaller phones market away, especially because men, you have to realize, men are the ones who are mostly making the electronic gadgets decision in their family. And even if women want a different product, elderly want a different product, a man can override. And men being selfish also, many men are like that. This is the natural, which is where, humanity needs to shift this also. Men need to understand that what you need is not the same thing as what your wife needs, or what your child needs, or what the elderly in your family needs. And now men also need to realize what you think humans need is not the same as what humans need for future direction of planetary growth or planetary betterment. And when people live in that grand scale denial, grand scale misunderstanding of what they need is the only thing that should occur on earth, is when all these massive products keep getting created, keep getting wasted, poor quality products are getting created. And all these good quality products are needed by women, because again, women not being the earners in majority of the world even now. All women also, like me, there are many women who only work for few years, and after that they don't work. There are many women who take time off work for 10-20 years of their life. There are all these there's a global percentage of population who do not want to just buy. I just want to buy one quality product, one good product that will last me 5 years or 10 years, because I'm not earning, because I have a husband who doesn't want to gift me anything, because I do want a functional, long-lasting product, because I am sustainability oriented, because I want a good quality product at a good price, but also not want to keep buying that good quality product every 3 years or 2 years. And this everyone needs to wake up to, because you can. And those people who have made millions of dollars from iPhone money or any other profitable business venture, if you, realistically speaking, look at your life and think about it, if that millions of dollars aren't being made by your company for, let's say, in the first 30-40 years of your life you made millions of dollars, or you are a billionaire, if for the next 10 years of your life or 20 years of your life you don't get categorized as a billionaire or millionaire, is it really that much of a loss? It is only a loss to your ego, but internally, for the sake of, if you want to balance life as a human, balance life for other humans, really want to become a better quality human who thinks about the needs of other humans, you will realize that that loss is not a loss at all. Because what you will gain in exchange, if you had taken that acceptable loss, is that company who killed, whose work conditions were responsible for killing those 146 women in that state in US, those people, if they had taken the right initiatives, the credit they would have got, actually social credit, emotional credit, the shifting of business practices related credit that could have unfolded in that company, and that didn't unfold in that or any other company that shifted their business inappropriately, because there's an appropriate way to shift the business and an inappropriate way. Now, the ones who did some ethical ways of shifting business, again, that business might last longer. But those companies that didn't, and again, with this, with the multinational companies, the issue is when this article is, or this news clip is saying, I'm considering him as a part of a news clip. He's not an official newsmaker, but he's creating news that is relevant for the world. So, in his clip, when he's talking about the fact that in order to solve our sustainability related problems, only policy changes are needed, or ethical, you search for the companies that are doing ethical practices are needed. Understand that there are so many. The reason why the German laws were also like so not definite was because there is a problem now that there could be a company who wants to do ethical business, but when they are doing ethical business and they could be marketed, they tied up with someone who says they are doing ethical business, but they may not be doing ethical business. Or there could be a complete misunderstanding of, because of language gaps, language barriers, some people will deliberately start doing unethical business and then use the language as an excuse. Some people may actually have a language problem, some people may have a communication problem, like the way in which a German speaks is very different from a way in which an Indian speaks, very different from the way in which a Chinese speaks. So you do not understand the intonation of languages, the deeper implications of communication, then also many things can get lost in translation. And even if you made all the, like with organic label only, like how I said in my past videos, when organic label is created, some companies think organic is only if at the base, like the cotton that they are going to use, they want to label their t-shirt as a organically labeled product. So the farmer may have done organic initiatives to create the t-shirt, but what if the vendor who, after the farmer, the person who wove it, added some chemicals to it that is not organic anymore, or the dyes used to color the cotton is not organic anymore, or the store in which you are now selling the product, and there are many companies like that in India where they are selling they're saying they're selling organic products or very clean products, but even though many clean initiatives are being done, the workers in their stores are doing now certain things that are not clean, that are not improving the organic label, or they are harming the organic label because some synthetic elements and artificial elements and health harming elements have been introduced. So while the cotton may be 100% cotton, and that's what also many companies start doing, it will say 100% cotton, maybe it's 100% cotton, but it's still not an organic cotton, but it is still not a organic, completely organic product, because of the other 10 steps in the supply chain of the business that is not doing anything organic at all to keep the product organic, to keep the product natural, to keep the product healthy for consumption. So all of these needs to be addressed, and it's a massive global problem. And whenever the global problem becomes such huge problem, accidents were the warning of, and minor deaths are the warning of those companies that are at the beginning stages of doing their business. But those companies that have been doing business for hundreds of years, it's not simply an accident, it is multiple degrees of accidents that have already unfolded in their companies, mismanagement that has unfolded, misunderstanding of why loss is necessary has unfolded, denial as to when loss is happening, how to take the loss into the right direction is the problem, denial of when a product is being rejected, why you have to stop producing that product has happened. All these things will happen, and then that company will completely collapse and end, like how Kmart and Sears ended. And also they are Kmart and Sears ending, and while the competitors are thinking ha ha ha, my competitor ended, but the same things that has collapsed Kmart and Sears is also the same thing that is going to collapse the other companies too. It's just that they have even less aware people. Why? Because if you are overworking your workers, will you have anyone in your workflow who knows how to identify when things are going wrong? Because you need the downtime, you need the losses, you need someone who understands what is downtime, what is loss, why is the loss happening, where is the loss happening, how to stem the loss in the right way, why to stem it in an ethical way, why to not take unethical measures to stem it. All of these are also needed, and you cannot have those people working for you if you are in a cutthroat industry, dog eat dog world industry, mass production based industry, mass production with exploitation of humans based parameters, propagating or sustaining, getting sustained by your business. All of these will eventually then lead to what? eventually lead to your company's breakdown will happen in a very different way. How it will happen, I can't say, but the symptoms of it breaking down is actually present in any large scale retailers business practices currently on earth. And how it is going to get destroyed, I don't know. All I know is every one of them is in the path of destruction, self destruction, self sabotage, because they haven't understood how to. They are using all these jargons about sustainability, organic product. They understood, like, it's like they've got a glimpse, like, oh, I need to make more organic products, so they are giving 100% organic cotton, but it's not 100% organic product. So even if the product is saying 100% organic cotton, another product is not saying 100% organic cotton, but the other product that doesn't say 100% organic cotton is giving me better health safety when I wear, because now for a woman like me, health safety has become a problem. I want to wear cotton clothes, I want to wear 100% sustainable cotton, ethically sourced cotton, better quality cotton, but I can't wear it if you don't give that product to me. So after buying also 3 cotton products, if none of them were actually a cotton that is health safe for me, that is health aligned for me, which will give me a better quality health, I am again collecting, like, after buying 10 clothes, only 2 is what I am able to wear. The rest 3 are just sitting in my wardrobe, or the rest 3, some are sitting in my wardrobe, some I donated away. Some, what, because I am also now sustainability oriented, some of the cotton or non-cotton pieces, if they are not too harmful, or even if they were harmful, actually at one point of time I had nothing to do, so I was using, even I got poisoned by using some harmful clothes also, not because the cotton was harmful, but because of other reasons those clothes were harmful, and I used those and I got poisoning also from knitting those products, and I've used it. What will I do? I don't know. There is no way to dispose of harmful products. Countries haven't created laws how to dispose of harmful products. Countries don't know how to stem the production of harmful products, and only in the short-sightedness of seeing that if I build more manufacturing plants, I am a successful country, that is where you are failing. And if India doesn't realize this from experiences of Bangladesh or China or Vietnam or any other country where manufacturing has led to even worsening of health of the population, financial health, mental health, physical health, socioeconomic health, then what have you learned? You're not learning only from mistakes of others, because that is also a core important skill, to be able to learn from the mistakes of others, to be able to rectify the thing at the right place. If you don't rectify it at the right place, you still didn't learn from the mistakes of your own company or mistakes of others. And for stopping the problem of sustainability related issues that is going on earth pollution related issues going on earth, every one of us has to start demanding more ethical products, start searching for those ethical products, start using all those ethical products, start creating those ethical products, and given our sphere of influence. So if I have the energy, time, resources, money to create an ethical product, I should be focusing on that. If I have the energy, time, resources, money to understand what is an ethical product and educate others about it, I should be doing that. So everyone has a particular role in life, but that role can't manifest for you if you do not understand what is your role. If you start competing, like, my role is to you do the comparison, and this is where the comparison is a problem, denial is a problem, ego is a problem. Not understanding that what is good for you may not be good for someone else is a problem, and that is when you become an imbalanced earth, lack of collaboration filled earth, superficial collaboration built earth that is not sustainable, earth that will collapse eventually in those places where enough conditions have been created such that the collapse is imminent. How it will collapse, I don't know, but it can be a collapse of a natural calamity that occurs in certain places. So in Japan, I gave Japanese example in previously as well. There is a reason why earthquakes are so common in Japan. And if Japanese don't understand why earthquakes are so common, there's a reason why North Korea exists, where minimalism of the worst kind possibly exists. I don't know if it is really that worst kind, because some of the videos of North Korea that I have seen look like really old videos. So secretly in North Korea, good things could also be happening. It's just that the world is not being shown what are the good things also possibly happening in North Korea. Because there is a purpose, there's a reason why North Korea still existed, because there was a purpose to minimalism, learning the value of what to do in the world when resources are less. That has a purpose as well. Everything has a purpose. It's just that minimalism as well as consumerism, there is a balanced way to bring a healthy medium also. But that healthy medium, the moment society forgets to create, is when imbalance continues in one way or the other. And North Korea can't stop existing if over consumerism doesn't stop existing. I hope this made sense. If people have any questions, comments, food for thought, want to connect with me on these issues, I would love to hear from you. Thank you very much. Have a great day.